ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं वादरायणं सूत्रभाष्य कृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Verse number 105. I chant and follow me. विषयाणाम् आनुकूल्ये सुखी दुखी विपर्यये सुखं दुःखं च तद्धर्म सदानन्दस्य नात्मनः. I repeat. विषयाणाम् आनुकूल्ये सुखी दुखी विपर्ये सुखं दुःखं च तद्धर्मः सदानन्दस्य न आत्मनः. See the translation. Worldly objects are favorable, it becomes happy, and it becomes miserable when the case is contrary. Do happiness and misery are characteristics of egoism and not to of the ever bliss Atman. The another translation. When the sense objects are conducive, the situation is happy. When they are non-conducive, it is a miserable. Happiness and misery are therefore the dharma of the ego and do not belong to the Atman, which is ever blissful. In previous verses, we studied that blindness, etc., and breathing, etc., and doership, etc., are not the intrinsic nature of the soul. And it is easily understandable. Easily understandable. Logically, you can prove it that the blindness is not belong to the soul. You can prove that the breathing system, respiratory system is not belong to the soul. You can understand the doership and the experiencerness is not belong to you. Now the topic is becoming more deeper. The topic is what about happiness and misery? Which happy and which miserable? Is it soul Are they happening somewhere else? Our experience says that I am happy. So direct it will connect to me. I am sad. So it seems that the happiness, the misery, these are connected to me. This is our experience, and this is common man's thought also. But here there are so many religions. Not there are so many religions, almost every religion believes that the soul becomes happy, the soul becomes miserable. We believe that there are so many scriptures, so many religions. They believe that the soul does good or bad acts, and to experience its result, it goes to heaven, it goes to hell, or it takes another gross body. So soul becomes happy and miserable. Every religion, almost all over the world, every religion believes that the soul is going to be miserable, your consciousness is going to be happiness, happy or miserable. Every religion believes. So the principle is do good and experience good. So simple. Everybody can understand this principle. You are doer, you are experiencer. So every religion believes your soul. I use word is your soul because we have to use language. We have to communicate. And in communication, I have to use language, words. And these words are not correct. These words are not able to carry the meaning. But we have to connect. So I use the word your soul. This is a false statement, but we have no option. We have to use the word your soul. But you don't get misunderstood me. When I use your soul, it is a local, it is a common thought. Your thought is going to be, your soul is going to be miserable. If you do good action, its results would be good and you enjoy in the heaven, or you would be miserable in hell or another body. So very simple principle. Not only religions. There are some philosophies who believe that soul is miserable, soul is happy. Like Nyaya, Mimamsa. They believe that happiness is where in the soul. Misery is where in the soul. Their answer is very simple. But reality is very different. Reality that Shankaracharya has, has so guts, so courage, so clear vision. He can say that this is wrong. You can think that he going to oppose everyone, everyone. A common experience, even religions also, and even some philosophies. So strong, so confident, because he realized, he see direct, then he can say, you are wrong. You all are wrong, because he can see. The reality is very different. The reality is happiness and miseries are not in consciousness. It is being explained by Shankaracharya how. How? So listen. Vishayanam anukulle sukhi dukhi vipariye. Now think what happiness is. What happiness is. You are happy. It means what? Happiness is just a thought and nothing. Happiness just a thought process. And you know, all thoughts takes place in our mind. So like thought of angry, thought of greediness, thought of misery, thought of happiness. So simply, they takes place in our mind. Vishayanam anukulle sukhi dukhi vipariye. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad. And both states come and go. These are not permanent. They come and go. And which things, which attitudes comes and go is not your essential nature. Essential nature is permanent. Nature cannot leave you. Like the ice essential nature is cold. You cannot separate coldness and ice. You cannot separate heat, hot and fire. So your essential nature very different. So things comes and goes is not your essential nature. So first thing should be remember that happiness or misery is just a thought process, nothing else. Now the question is, how do they come into existence? Very basic question. How do they come into existence? We have to think the thought of cause of happiness and cause of misery. When we think about happiness, about misery, we just know that objects. The cause is our miseries, the cause of our happiness only is object, outside objects. Shankaracharya says no. He is not with you. In this statement, he is not with you. He says, Vishayanam Anukulle Sukhi Dukhi Viparya. The cause for your happiness, the cause for your misery is not object. Anukulle, the very word is he used, Anukulle. Anukulle means conducive, favorable. You started some objects is your favorable. Some objects are your conducive. You started liking and disliking. And you think deeply. Your liking and disliking has no reason, no logic. There's no logic. You love sweet, another person does not. And even you also, when you were a child, you love sweet, you love chocolates, but now you don't. Your taste has been changed. So what happens? Our disliking, our liking has no reason. It means there are no any objects which is make you unconditionally happy. There is no universal object which is giver of happiness. There is no any object universal which is make you miserable. No object. Universally, there are no objects. We impose our thought. Actually, objects are inert. They are not capable to do anything. You give them energy. You give them value in form of miserable or unmiserable, favorable or not favorable. Then they start making you miserable or not miserable. So here, Vishayanam Anukulle Sukhi Dukhi Viparye Sukham Dukham Cha Tat Dharma. Sakracharya says, so that happiness and miseries are just a thought process, nothing else. And thought always exists in your mind. So he says, Sukham Dukham Cha Tat Dharma. These qualities are of your intellect, your mind, your inner instrument, not yourself. Sadanandasya Atmana, because you are always blissful. I remember a small incident. Once it happened, a gentleman came to a saint. He was very upset, disturbed, and he came and said, I am very disturbed. I am very miserable. So please give me some peace. So saint said, okay, peace is not like something I can give you direct. Live with me. Start living with me. Follow me. And he stayed. So after a few days, he becomes quiet, in peace, rested, and he then said, now I am in peace. I am in bliss. I am in happiness. I am happy. So Saint said, no, you are making again mistake. You are making again same mistake. What mistake? Before you thought you are miserable, you are disturbed. That time also you are not miserable. You are not disturbed. Your mind was disturbed. Your mind was agitated. Your mind was not in peace. And now also, in this state also, just your mind keep quiet. Your mind is rested, not you. You are beyond. So these all things is happening only in inner instrument. Sankaracharya says, Sukham dukham chatat dharma sadanandasya atmana. These quality of are in mind, not yourself, not in Atman. Next one. आत्मार्थत्वेन हि प्रियान् विषयो न स्वतप्रियः स्वत एव हि सर्वेषाम् आत्मा प्रियतमो यतः तथा आत्मा सदानंदो नास्य दुःखम कदाचन. I repeat. आत्मार्थत्वेन प्रियान् विषयो न स्वतप्रियः स्वत एव हि सर्वेषाम् आत्मा प्रियतमो यतः तत आत्मा सदानंदो नास्य दुःखम कदाचन. The meaning is objects are pleasurable only as dependent on the Atman, manifesting through them and not independently, because the Atman is by its very nature the most beloved of all. Therefore, the Atman is ever blissful and never suffer misery. I repeat the translation again. Sense objects are pleasure giving only because of the self, which manifests through them and not independently. For the self is, by its very nature, the most beloved of all. The self, therefore, is ever blissful and can never suffer any grief or misery. Happiness of the objective are not absolute. Happiness comes from the object. We believe that. We believe that I am happy because of I have lots of property. I have such, I have this, I have that. That is I am happy. I have big family, big relation, big position, big post. So we thought that. Here, Sankaracharya says, the objects are not directly pleasure giving. They can give you pleasure if you permit. If you accept that they are pleasure giving, you impose your power, you impose them value. You accept that there are three labels. One is any object can give you happiness, can give you misery. And if you are neutral, then the object is nothing. Object is zero. It cannot produce any result for those who are neutral. If you have love for object, it can give you pleasure. If you have hate for that, it can make you miserable. If you have nothing, just neutral. Any objects, even a palace, the wealth of the all universe, and opposite, even death, anything cannot make you happy or miserable. It is up to you. What do you want? Atma tattvena priyan vishaya. Vishaya means object. Objects are pleasure giving if you accept that they are pleasure giving. If they are pleasure giving really, then they give pleasure everyone, every time, everywhere, but it's not happening. Every time. Like I told you, like ice. Ice is cold, it is universal truth. Fire is hot, it is universal truth. So everywhere, everyone can, every time can experience this ice and cold. This is a fire, hot. But any object is not universal happiness giver or misery giver. It is up to you. You believe that this object will make you happy. This person will make you happy. And then we start loving the object, loving the person. So first thing is you impose that this object, this person will make me happy. Then we start loving. I told the story of Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi in before. Yajnavalkya said to his wife, we do not love anything for their sake. It is not possible. You can say these are just wording, nothing else, nothing truth. No one can love without their own interests. You love not God for God's sake. He said, there is a story very big, but I am giving some quotes from there. So Yajnavalkya says, his wife, you love God if God is as an object. So think deeply. If God is as an object, then it is not always lovable. You worship some God, and after some time we feel that nothing is happening, then we change. We worship some God. We worship in according to some religion pattern, and we see there is nothing happening, then we change. We change religion, we change God, we change scripture. Why? Because if you accept that even God is also an object, then this object in form of object, God is not real God. That is why Vedanta says, see the God in you as a self, not as an object. If God is as an object, it is not universal pleasure giving. See, that is why there are so many fightings in between religions. They says, my God is great, your God is nothing. Someone says, my God is great, your God is nothing. Because they don't know concept of God. If you know, if you accept God as an object, it is not universal truth. You change anytime. Atmarthatvena priyan vishayo nasvata priya. So Shankaracharya says, any object, even God, I repeat, if God is an object, then if the God make you happy, then it's okay. If it does not make happy, then you change God, you change religion, you change pattern, scriptures, guru, saints, anything. Because I want happiness. Everything depends on me. I am the center. So knowingly, unknowingly, always we are connected to our soul. Obviously, unknowingly. Listen carefully. Knowingly, unknowingly, we are always connected to our soul. So soul is our center. Shankaracharya says, Atma tattvena priyan vishayo nasvata priyaha svata eva hi sarvesam atma priyatamuya. So there is no any object in the all over the universe, any object which is universally pleasure giving, which is always universally misery giving. No. All objects are relative. They sometimes give you misery, they sometimes give you happiness. The same object reacts two ways. The same person reacts two ways. Sometimes it gives happiness, sometimes it makes you miserable. But there is one fact. It is very opposite. Sarvesam atma priyottama mataha. Now Shankaracharya says, only there is one fact. There is one fact, one reality, which is lovable, beloved, everyone, every time, everywhere, and which is your consciousness. Undoubtedly, no doubt. Everyone loves your soul. And whatever is very close to you is more lovable. Like your mind is more close to you than your gross body, than other objects. Sarvesham Atma Priyotama Mata, Sankaracharya says, there is no doubt. Everyone, every time, everywhere. This is universal truth. What? Your soul is most beloved for you. Your soul is absolute beloved for everyone. You love yourself. Animals love themselves. Birds love themselves. Trees love themselves. Themselves, self, not body, not body. Once I experienced it in Mumbai ashram. There is a small cow shed. Every day morning I used to go there for darshan, and there would come lots of people to feed cow, and they give so many things, grass, fruits, vegetables. So cows are so happy. Foods for them were sufficient, more than I never gave them to food, and then the time started of the pandemic. No one was coming, and one day I realized their hunger, their hunger, because they ate food very very early in the morning, evening, and whole night they didn't eat anything, and morning they are hungry. So one day I realized they are hungry. They want they want to eat something. So just for joy, I gave them some grass, and they enjoyed it. Next morning, when I reached there, they were waiting. So I gave again, and they enjoyed. I also enjoyed. Next morning, I also was curiosity, had curiosity to give them food, and I went there. They were waiting, and I gave. So now, then it became my routine. I feel, I felt so happiness. I was doing the work. I was giving the food them because not for them. It was making me happiness. It was giving me happiness. It was make me happiness. So that is what I was giving. My happiness center. I do everything for my happiness. Every creature, birds, animals, trees, human beings, goats, do everything for their happiness, not for others' happiness. Tatra atma sadanando nasi dukkam kadachana. Now Shankaracharya says, Tat atma sadanand. Yourself, yourself, pure consciousness is always sadananda, blissful. Yourself, your consciousness is always sadananda, always blissful. So, which happiness coming and going, this happiness is not belong to yourself. Remember one thing, because the problem is when we hear word ananda, and we think Anand belongs to soul. Because here Ananda belongs to soul. No, this Ananda this happiness is not permanent happiness. This happiness is coming and going. So this happiness is not nature of the your. This happiness is the nature of the mind, intellect, inner instrument, not your. Tata Atma Sadananda Nashi Dukkham Kadachana, Sankaracharya says, your soul, your consciousness, and you are always blissful. They are anytime misery is not touched to you. Misery is not able to touch you. Misery is not able to belong to you. You are beyond all miseries. So here is a pair, happiness and misery. So this pair is quality of inner instrument, not yours. Your happiness is always. It is not disturbed anytime. So now next one. Yat susuptau nirvishaya atmanandonubhuyate sruti pratyaksh aitiha anumanam cha jagrati. I repeat. Yat susuptau nirvishaya atmanandonubhuyate sruti pratyaksh maitiha anumanam cha jagrati. The translation is that in profound sleep we experience the bliss of Atman, independent of sense objects, is clearly attested by the Shruti, direct perception, tradition, and inference. I repeat another way, the translation. Scriptures declaration, direct experience, tradition, and inference clearly say that in deep sleep we experience the bliss of the Atman independent of sense objects. Now Sankaracharya proves that. His statement, the statement is your soul is always blissful. He gives an example like deep sleep. He says that soul is always blissful. There is no misery at all. Anytime there is no sadness. So Sankaracharya making us to understand that fact. The example is deep sleep. In deep sleep, what happens? In deep sleep, there is no gross body, no sense organs, no subtle body, there is no mind, no intellect, and that is why there is no object. Yatsu Suktau Nirvishaya. Nirvishaya means objectless. There is no object. No intellect. No organs. No body. In deep sleep. Then what happens? Atmanandon bhuyate. In that state, in deep sleeps, we experience blissfulness. Blissfulness. So, when we, after having our sleep, we say that I had good sleep. I had good sleep. I did not know anything, but I had good sleep. And everyone wants every time dark state. So what is there? You think if here is some person like a king, he has everything, everything, every facility, luxury life, everything he has. But he wants he wants the deep sleep. Why? Because in deep sleep he experienced there is something different. In deep sleep he experiences very different happiness, which happiness is not available in waking state, even a dream state. We have experiences in waking states by gross objects, and we have experiences in dream state by subtle objects. But in deep sleep, there is no object, but we are so happy. Even although the happiness of the deep sleep is covered by ignorance. However, is better than both states. So that is why we always want deep sleep is better than both states. So Shankaracharya says, Yat susuktau nirvishta atmanandonubhuyate, and he gave some examples. Shruti. Shruti means, I am not saying that. This is proved by Shruti. Shruti says, here, Esa, Eso Asya Parama Anandaha. The Shruti says, in this state, he achieved very blissful state. And Pratyaksha means everyone knows. It is this experience everyone has. So it means Pratyaksha means not direct knowledge by organs. Pratyaksha means it is an experience for everyone. And I think it is always happening, and you can infer because everyone wants to be रमेश शक्ति अनाद्य विद्या त्रिगुणात्मिका परा कार्यानुमेया सुध्यैव माया एया जगत् सर्वमिदं प्रसूयते. I repeat, अव्यक्त नाम्नी परमेश शक्ति अनाद्य विद्या त्रिगुणात्मिका परा कार्यानुमेया सुध्यैव माया एया जगत् सर्वमिदं प्रसूयते. Here, or Maya, called also the undifferentiated is power of Lord. She is without beginning, is made up of all three gunas, and is superior to effects as their cause. She is to be inferred by one of the clear intellect only from the effects she produces. It is she who brings forth the whole universe. I translate in another way. Avidya, nations, or Maya is also called the unmanifested and is power of the Lord. It is a without beginning. It comprises the three gunas and is superior to their effects. It is to inferred only by one who has a clear intellect from the effects it produces. It is this avidya which projects the entire universe. Now, we have been taught yet about which is not so. Your topic was what is soul and what is not so. Yet we studied what is not so. And in this way, we have studied gross body and subtle body. The question is, what is cause of for those subtle body and gross body? So now, this cause is causal body. So Shankaracharya starts causal body. So first we did gross body, then we did subtle body. Now third one is causal body. Avyakta namni paramesha sakti. This is avyakt. Avyakt, unmanifest. Unmanifest because it is not this one. No one can see where is the Maya, ignorance. If you are able to see your ignorance, ignorance will disappear. Listen carefully. You cannot see your ignorance. No one can see their ignorance. If you are able to see your ignorance will disappear. You will not find anything there. It is very strong if you are unaware. Ignorance is very strong if you are not aware. If you are aware, it disappears like a darkness. So, unmanifested, avyaktanamni, unmanifest, you cannot see by any instrument, by any device, because its nature is unmanifest. And it is a power of Lords. It is a power of Lords. It is a beginningless, anadi, because it has no birth, death, because it is the part of the God, like you and your energy. So this is a part of the shadow of the God. So you cannot make any death, anadi, beginningless. And it comprises Sattva, Rajas and Tama, three gunas. And Para, in Sanskrit, Para means higher. Higher than everything. Nothing is beyond this. Everything under, because this is the cause for everything. So ignorance is the cause for Brahma. Ignorance for cause for gods, human beings, creatures, all universe. So this is the cause. Everything is the effect. Trigunatmika para karyanumeya sudhyaiva maya. The intelligent person can understand it only by infer. You cannot experience it direct. You just infer. It is. How? You find out region. Karyanumeya sudhyaiva maya yaya jagat saram midam prashuyate. And all the creature, all the universe is created by the Maya. All universe has been created by Maya. By support of the gods. not independently. Listen, the Maya has been creating everything. Maya is creating everything, but not independently. He wants support. So God is giving support to Maya. Jagat sarvamidam prashuyate. The all universe has been created by the Maya. God is the supreme consciousness is akarta. Akarta. He is not doer. He is not creator. He just is. There is no modification. Just is. So Maya does everything. So all creation was created by Maya. So this is the first definition of the Maya. So today we conclude here. Thank you very much. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.